Have you ever stayed too long in a place that quietly drained you? Not because you were weak, but because you thought leaving meant failure. Let me tell you something most men never hear. Not every storm is meant to be weathered. Some storms come to wake you up, not to make you stronger. Sometimes silence says more than passion ever could. And for the Stoic man, knowing when to walk away isn't abandonment. It's self-respect. You see, we're told that real men endure, that love is proven by how much we can tolerate. But what if that mindset is slowly killing the best parts of you? A man who stays where his spirit is dying isn't loyal, he's lost. Stoicism doesn't glorify suffering, it honors clarity. It teaches that walking away from what no longer aligns with your peace is not an act of coldness, it's an act of wisdom. And that wisdom has been whispered for centuries, not from bitterness but from ancient strength. So before we talk about the signs you need to see, ask yourself this. Are you holding on out of love or out of fear of being alone? Sometimes the person closest to you is the one quietly undoing you. Not through violence, not through obvious betrayal, but through subtle erosion. She mocks your values, she turns your principles into punchlines. She questions your purpose not to understand it, but to undermine it. And still, you stay, hoping she'll change, hoping love is enough. But Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and those thoughts are shaped by the people we allow into our lives." If the person you sleep next to is the one poisoning your peace, you are not in a relationship, you are in a prison. When affection becomes a tool of control, when guilt becomes a language of manipulation, that is not love, that is slow corrosion. And no man becomes stronger by bathing in poison every day. A Stoic man guards his energy, his time, his mission. Not with anger, but with boundaries. You were not born to be someone's emotional hostage. You were made to build something meaningful. And that begins the moment you choose to protect your inner world more than your need to be accepted by someone who cannot respect it. Seneca once said, "The man who is everywhere is nowhere." But what happens when your own home becomes the storm you can't escape? When the place meant for rest becomes a battlefield? If the woman by your side constantly stirs up drama, if trust feels like a gamble and peace is something you only experience when she leaves the room, then you are not building a life, you are surviving a war. And the hardest part is it doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it wears a soft voice and a gentle smile, but it's still the same storm underneath. True peace isn't silence, it's the discipline of protecting your mind from daily damage. As men, we are taught to endure, but endurance without clarity is surrender. A wise man doesn't trade his peace for temporary passion. He knows that love built on volatility is not love, it's addiction. And if your mind is never at rest, if her presence feels like pressure instead of partnership, you have to ask, is this connection anchoring my soul or sinking it? Because peace is not optional. For the Stoic man, it's non-negotiable. And anyone who threatens it, no matter how beautiful or familiar, cannot stay. Epictetus once said, "If someone provokes you, it's because your mind has given them permission." Now think about that. What happens when the person you love uses your pain against you? When she brings up your past not to understand it, but to weaponize it. When she mocks the man you're becoming and laughs at the dreams that keep you alive. That's not love. That's sabotage. And no matter how many sweet moments follow it, the damage remains. A Stoic man does not allow himself to be unmade by someone who claims to love him. He sets boundaries not out of anger, but out of respect for his own mind. You are not put here to constantly explain yourself to someone who refuses to grow. You are not her therapist, not her project, and certainly not her emotional sponge. Love should not cost you your dignity or your direction. If your relationship feels like a battlefield where progress is punished and vulnerability is twisted into weakness, you must ask yourself, how much of your power are you giving away just to keep someone who breaks you quietly? The Stoic man does not beg to be understood. He protects the space where his purpose lives. And that sometimes means walking away from what feels familiar but leads nowhere. Walking away is not weakness. It is one of the rarest forms of strength a man can show. Because it's easy to stay where it's familiar, even if it's killing you slowly. But the man who leaves the toxic behind is not escaping. He is answering a higher calling. He is stepping into the version of himself that refuses to shrink. We've been told that real love means enduring anything, but that's not love, that's erasure. There is a difference between challenge and corrosion. One shapes you, the other destroys you. Seneca once said, associate with those who make you better, and the inverse is just as true. Keep distance from anyone who drags you lower, no matter how close they once were. Leaving does not mean you stopped caring. It means you finally remembered to care for yourself. It means you realize that your heart deserves more than just survival. It deserves to beat fully, freely, and in rhythm with a life that reflects your worth. The Stoic man does not fear the solitude that follows walking away. He embraces it. Because in that space beyond attachment lies the beginning of something sacred, not the end of love, the start of self-respect. There comes a moment when you have to ask if staying is costing you your soul. Because when a relationship demands that you slowly die inside just to keep it alive, that's no longer love, that's self-abandonment. Stoicism is not about silent suffering. It's about standing firm in truth, even when truth is painful. Even when it asks you to let go of what you once thought you couldn't live without. Let people call you cold. Let them call you distant. Let them say you walked away too soon. But never let them say you stayed in a place where your spirit was suffocating. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's sacred. Because a man who lives disconnected from himself cannot lead, cannot love, and cannot last. The discipline to protect your peace, the strength to say no to emotional chaos, the clarity to walk away when others would beg to stay, this is what makes a man whole. And when you choose yourself, you are not walking away from love, you are walking back toward it. Toward the kind of life where your heart beats freely, your mind is clear, and your purpose is no longer buried beneath the weight of someone else's pain. Choose discipline, choose peace, choose you. When you choose yourself, you're not choosing loneliness. You're choosing to live fully instead of halfway. You're no longer settling for a version of life built on silence, self-sacrifice, or emotional confusion. Because real love, the kind that lasts and elevates, does not ask you to surrender your clarity, your freedom, or your identity. It asks you to grow in alignment, not disappear in compromise. This is the heart of Stoicism, not coldness, not detachment, but discipline, clarity, inner truth. The Stoic man doesn't chase what dims him, he protects what makes him whole. And that protection isn't selfish, it's sacred. When you walk away from what drains you, you make room for what strengthens you. And in that space, you find something rare, a life where peace is not the exception, but the foundation. A love that doesn't cost your sanity, a self that finally feels like home. That's what freedom feels like, and that's what you were meant for.